Hi, my name is David Yeo. I'm the CEO and founder of Kydon Group. How has learning changed? I think learning has gone back to the fundamentals of what learning should be, which is authentic, experiential, and real. And in doing that, learning has also embraced technology, which is part and parcel of life today. So it is almost impossible to think about education and training without thinking about technology, because technology is so much part of us, part of our life, whether you are an adult or a child. And because of that, you have to consider technology in learning. I think there's always a place for academic learning. I think it's important to think that in education and training, there's a need to go back to foundations, the core of what you are. I think whilst we emphasize on skills, it is also important to know that at the basis of all the skills are core capabilities that we all must have. The foundation of knowledge is important. I think many times we do not dig deep enough into why certain things work. In all disciplines, whether it's engineering, medicine, or any of the skill sets out there, there are foundational knowledge which we should know and must know. I think it's important for all of us to know those things, to have the passion to learn them. And the more important thing is not just to know, but to exercise it. And that's why it becomes skill, when we practice it and we put knowledge to action. I think there are two challenges. First is that it is apparent to everybody that the need to embrace technology needs to be quickened. It's already quickened. It's already compressed. The digitalization of knowledge distribution is already happening even pre-pandemic, and the COVID situation has really accelerated the whole process. The challenge is not the technology. The challenge is not the need to go remote. The challenge is trainers, teachers knowing how to do it, because it's not a direct transfer of classroom to online. We cannot take what is in the PowerPoint and start to publish it online. We cannot take textbooks and make it PDF. That's not how it works. Bringing it online requires transformation in the way we think about learning, in the way we think about how engagement takes place in the online world. But the retraining of people who do this needs to take place. I think for the younger population, especially the Gen Z, I'm not as worried for them. I think for them to embrace learning in the digital space is not a problem. The bigger concern, of course, will be those who are in mid-career changes. They are basically facing two immediate challenges. The first challenge is they have to think about upskilling or reskilling. And in reskilling, they have to do a major pivot from experiences and competencies that they are very, very comfortable with into something new. And not only that, to go into a workplace when the entire environment is very much changed. So it is no longer enough that we've learned from our education and then move to workplace and then just performing our job comfortably. I think in this new world, everybody needs to learn, relearn, and relearn. Continuous learning is no more than a catchphrase, more than a phrase. Continuous learning is a requirement. In fact, it's a survival requirement. The traditional mindset that learning is about consumption can no longer be the situation. We are no longer just learners who are consuming. We have to be learners that are creating. We have to be learners that are researching. We have to be learners that are collaborating. I think that's the potential that technology can give us. Consuming it at Netflix, sure. I think that we should move technology towards that instead of a very boring page flippers, page turners, if you like, to have engaging, interactive content that we can learn from. But I think more importantly, we have to think of this new world where learners are creators, where learners are collaborators, and learners are discoverers as well. But how do we do that? We have to think of technology as not just a unidirectional capability, but a multi-directional capability. The learner must be at the center. The learner must be part of the learning process, part of the creation process. And this requires, like as I mentioned earlier on, it requires a new thinking in the building of technology, right? The traditional building of technology, the traditional building of content is very hierarchical. It's very top down. It is where the subject matter expert knows everything. The lecturer, the tutor knows most things or all things, and then the expectation is then therefore a person like me being able to communicate that. Sure, there is a place and space and place for that. But I think good learning takes place when the learner participates actively. Now, this happens in the digital world in two ways. Okay, one, the learner can be very passive, but learning doesn't really take place. The communication may take place, but the learning doesn't take place. For real learning to take place, the learner must really embrace the knowledge, embrace the activities, be part of it, be embedded with it, be encumbered with it, if you like, be participant of it. I'm using all these words because really the key idea here is the activeness of the learner in the learning process. I think that's not being thought through enough. I don't think that's been discovered and worked on enough in terms of the role of the learner. The emphasis has always been on the role of the institution. The emphasis has always been on the role of the content creation or the content creator or the knowledge provider. But really, knowledge is so dynamic right now that if the learner don't have the capability to be self-sufficient in discovering, researching, and creating knowledge, then the person cannot be relevant for the new future. Kydon's mission is very simple. Kydon's mission is to empower the human capital, the knowledge, skills, and experience of people so that we can do well. When we do well for our society, for our family, then we bring dignity to people. One of the things that I think will be a big game changer in the EduTech space and is the idea of workplace learning. Workplace learning in its traditional thinking is about bringing institutional learning, i.e. the certification and the courses from institution into the workplace. But workplace learning is not just about that. Workplace learning is also about learning in the workplace. How do you learn better? How do you gain skills, knowledge, capabilities, competencies on the job through the workplace? I think that's something that would be a game changer. I don't think we have our hands fully wrapped around it yet. It's something that I'm very interested in. I'm very interested as we do our research and development into how can we create the next milestone, the next big leap in EdTech, moving it from traditional institutional learning space into really operational marketplace, workplace learning. We have been learning for curriculum, we have been learning for tests and exams, but have we been learning for performance? I think that's the issue. Real learning takes place when there's behavioral change. We know that as learning scientists or will tell you that real learning takes place when there's behavioral change in a person. It's demonstrated through behaviors. It is not just in the mind, it's through the action that we therefore are able to perform in our new workplace or our future workplace. So the thing is, how do we create learning that is tied directly to performance? I think that's a key. We learn content that's tied to a objective that is required in the workplace. So it comes back to the idea of, again, what is the workplace to you, right? And how is the changing workplace relevant to curriculum, right? Curriculum is about the structure. Curriculum is about the what and how of learning. But the what and how of learning must be about what am I doing or what am I expected or required to do in the workplace. We are required to perform tasks. Not only are we required to perform tasks, we are required to collaborate. Not only are we required to collaborate, we are required to learn at the workplace because new things happen all the time. whether it's because of incidents or new products or new requirements, changes in the environment. We have to learn whether you are an executive or you are an engineer or you are a manager. You have to learn at the workplace. So the key here is not just the skills, which you definitely need. The key here is the capability to learn new things at the workplace. It's difficult, obviously. It requires, like I mentioned earlier on, it requires not just the absorption, okay, by the individuals of new skills and capabilities. It requires the person to be actively participating in collaborating, in researching, in discovery, because these are the behavior and the requirements of the workplace. Well, we are a part of the EduTech Alliance. In being part of the EduTech Alliance, we are building a product. The baseline product is simple enough in the sense that what we're trying to do is we are trying to help Singaporeans, first and foremost, be able to reskill and upskill by knowing themselves, their core capabilities, by discovering what job opportunities are there, is there, and then being able to create a personal learning path by curating all of Singapore and the world's content to the person, so that the person can learn, relearn, to be competent for new jobs or even upskill existing jobs. I think that's the immediate task that we have. ZilLearn is a unique technology capability that we created as a result of many years of working in this space. It is quite apparent that the use of technology will be part and parcel of our life, and it will be part and parcel of people. The thing is, how do we make it more accessible to more people? And I'm not talking about the consumer, I'm talking about institutions, talking about organizations. Larger organizations and institutions today use learning management systems or learning platforms of different sorts and creates content in a very vibrant way and a very exciting way for the organizations and for the people. But what is missing is the accessibility to such resources and such capabilities for the rest of the world. The education and training industry is a $3 billion industry. Education technology or EdTech is probably at about 250 billion USD. Now, that's a pretty nice space, but it's a small space in the total education space. Even the $3 trillion probably is a bit of an understatement, because the $3 trillion usually refers to the formal education. But if you think of learning from a bigger human capacity, a bigger human endeavor of learning and lifelong learning, all the way from birth to death, cradle to grave, okay, that space is probably a lot bigger than $3 trillion. So how do we solve accessibility? How do we solve the making learning creation and learning consumption, if you like to use those words, available to a much bigger population of people? And that's why I created ZilLearn. ZilLearn has got two things it must solve. First is, how do I make the creation of learnable, structured knowledge and learning available to as many people as possible? Make it so that it is easily and cheaply created by the subject matter experts, rather than going through a very long, tedious, and laborious process of creating digital learning. How can I massively help the entire industry, or help you humans create content massively so that it's available for consumptions by everybody else? I think that's one of the key problem that we're trying to solve. The second problem that we're trying to solve: how do I make it available, rapidly available, easily available, not just from a top-down, but from a bottom-up modality, available not just to large organizations, but available to small, medium-sized organizations, smaller organizations, classroom teachers, in a very affordable way. The thing is about content is that content is changing so rapidly that the traditional way of creating a content that takes months or years is no longer relevant or enough. We need to be able to create adaptive content, quick contents that is industry ready, just like that. And to make that availability of creating content to the person who have direct access to the content, i.e. the industry, i.e. the market player, i.e. the subject matter experts. While institutions continue to have a role, we need to give the power of creation to those people so that we can massively create this and make it available to the people. Because we are not just looking at traditional curriculum of that we are used to. Okay, we are looking at new industries that are still at the forefront, when knowledge is still emerging and changing rapidly. And therefore, our content must change rapidly. As it's being created, it's being changed. As it's being created, it's being refreshed. ZilLearn has the capability to do that, and we want to make that available to all our institutions, our organizations, and our enterprises so that we can make those contents easily accessible to our population. I think the second thing, and it's a new thing that we are building into ZilLearn as well, is to personalize it to the individuals. Whilst there is all these massive content opportunities that we make available, and I'm not talking about courses. This massive content opportunity that we will make into micro components and micro courses, so they are precise to the person, right? But how to make it precise? How do I make sure that the right person will get the right content at the right time, in the right place, in the right format? I think that's the key to what ZilLearn is trying to achieve, especially through our platform ZilLearn Skills. Creating a personalized learning path based on existing skill sets, and then helping the person discover what's new future skill set he or she needs to know in order to upskill according to his current career path or pivot and change career. The learning is not a one-time thing. The learning is continuous. We continuously need to reskill. We continuously need to upskill. I don't think EdTech can reinvent the workforce. I think the workforce is being reinvented even as we speak because of changes in industry, changes in economy, changes in technology. It is not the result of EdTech. There has to be an intimate relationship between institutions and organizations in the effort to help people grow. And I think that is where EdTech can play a critical role in forming that bridge. Forming a bridge in terms of time, space, and data, right? Time and space is obviously the one of the big challenge in terms of availability of people and in terms of time to learn, and also space, especially now with remote with the need for remote learning. How do we have better access to learning from wherever we are? The bridge is also of data, right, between institutions and organizations. How can we better help this individual discover themselves and progress in their learning between the institutional learning space and the organizational learning space? How can we help bring Singapore's core competencies of education and learning into the region and into the world? I think we have always have very good reputation in the way we do education, in the way we are able to score very well in many of the global benchmarks and standards. And we have that trust in that system that we have, global trusts in the system that we have. Is it possible to make this something, okay, that is a real competitive advantage, not just for Singapore as we build up new economies, but to be able to use EdTech as a new economy as well, to be a competitive advantage for Singapore. I think that's the world that I'm hoping that Kydon and ZilLearn can contribute to, in providing the core platform to massively create, to massively enable, to massively bring people together. And these people are not just institutions and corporate partners, but these people are also our users, our Singaporeans, and our strategic partners in governments and industries. And I welcome everybody to reach out to us. It is a big ambition that we have, but I think this big ambition can be fulfilled if we have partners who are willing to work on this together with us in a way that has never been done before.